All right, so today I want to talk about the power of call to action. Call to action is so important, and in marketing we call it CTA, all right? Not Chicago Transit Authority, if you're from Chicago. It means call to action, okay? CTAs are buses that we take, and the train system, that's a different CTA. This CTA is probably more important than that CTA, which is call to action. Call to action is so important because if you're creating content, an article, let's just use a blog. What do we want the reader to do at the end of it, right? What do we want them to do after they're done consuming this content? If you are creating a video on YouTube, what call to actions do you want them to take? If you're making landing pages and you're creating ads, what call to action do you want them to take at the end of it? What action? A call to action. Sometimes we forget what that means. What you're doing is you're giving someone an opportunity to take action in doing something to improve them, to help them, to buy something, to consume content, to watch a video, whatever that is, you're giving them an open call to action. And you want to make sure that you use that really, really wisely. Not just say, learn more. Learn more is great, but maybe start today is more powerful, right? Test it. And I've created so much content about testing things. This is one of those things that if you don't put enough energy into testing, you're going to waste a lot of time creating content. Call now. How many of you have seen that button? What about the TV, like info commercials, right? Like infomercials, you see call now. 800, whatever. They're telling you to call now. That's what they're telling you. And guess what? People listen to the call to action. People literally call that number because they feel like they have to. And as marketers, when we're struggling to figure out why this campaign is not working, let's take a look at what are we asking them to do. How many of you send email campaigns? You create all this energy and conversion into HTML and mobile optimizing our email and the perfect subject line, and we have a crappy call to action. What do we want people to do other than delete and unsubscribe, right? That's what naturally they're gonna do. You're interrupting them to my extent if it's not personalized and if you're not really taking the time to segment your audience and all that stuff, and you're just spamming them, hypothetically. I'm not saying any of you do that. You guys are great marketers, you deserve an A+. However, if you're not really considering their time and all the things that go into it, and you're just using it as a vehicle for you to just push more emails in front of people, and I'm totally the opposite. I'm all about value and I don't care about anything else. If I'm not adding value to somebody's day, then this is not going out, okay? That's how I am. Long story short, if you're not doing that, and if you did actually send it out and you had a poor call to action, that's that's like 2 strikes, right? What do you expect me to do? Every single day we're doing things, asking for people to act on something, but how strong is that call to action? And is that the next best logical step in their journey? That's a really important concept. What is the next best logical step? So many attorneys, they use the free consultation, or if you're in professional services, you give them the next best logical step, which is free consult, right? Talk to us and see if we're a fit. Can we even help you? Or if you're an e-commerce site, maybe you want them to buy the product, right? And that probably is the next logical step. But what about watching some videos or learning more about it, right? Think about that. Do you really want to ask for the call of to buy something? Of course, you and I, from a sales perspective, we do, but is that the next logical step? For me, I would probably want to give them some other opportunity to learn more about the product if, it is something that they take some time to buy. But if you're in a place where they're on the product page or they're on the landing page and the next logical step is to check out, man, you want them to do that, right? You want them to. But sometimes on other websites, you have compare, things like that, to make sure that they know what they're buying. As much as I like to buy now, but sometimes it's not the best place. If they're not even ready to buy it, they may need to see some testimonials. They want to see how this works. They want to make sure that they're not going to have any issues when they buy the product. So think about what is the next logical step and start to really test or refine the call to action. First of all, some of us have to go back and put some call to actions. That's the first thing that we have to do. And some of us have to revise the call to actions to be better. What do you want them to do is the question. And does that make sense for this person to do whatever you're asking them to do? And if you got that past that, then the next question is, what else can we do? Can we test this versus that and see what the people are doing? And then eventually just really hone in on the one that has worked out the best. And if that means buy now, then let that be. If that means call now, let that be. But if that means learn more or free consult or whatever it is, request consultation, and I've tested so many of them, get proposal. I mean, I've given up all kinds of ideas and tried and tested continuously to see which one works. And you will be surprised because what you and I think sometimes aren't what works, okay? What you and I think is what we think. What really matters is what people think when they see that their need of your product or service, and do they want to click on what your thing is, right? If they don't care, it doesn't matter what you and I think. We could think all day about what we want them to do, but do they do what they want, what we want them to do, and does it make sense for them as far as the next logical step is concerned? So revisit it. Call to actions are so important. Don't just say, oh, just throw a CTA on there, like just stick a button. Think about it. We often just want a button and we don't really care about what we're asking them to do. A button is not a call to action. Button is just a type of element on a page. What you really need to think about is, what is the button saying? And are you consistent? Do you have 5 different call to actions? Are you all over the place? I mean, does this even make sense? Are we going to confuse people and are they going to leave? To me, it's not a button. There's way more than that. And do we even have the same colors across the board? Like, every little detail matters. So don't put a button that's green on top and pink in the middle and yellow at the bottom. And don't put it with 3 different types of words, right? Request a consultation, request consultation, get started. To me, that's all over the place, and don't do that. You want to be very consistent, and you also need to be methodical, and you also want to make sure that you're very precise with what you're doing, okay? So the button's got to look the same, feel the same, and it should all lead to the same page or drag up and down on the same page. Whatever you're asking them to do, make sure you're extremely, extremely thoughtful about what you're doing from a call to action perspective. Don't just throw anything on the wall and see what sticks like a lot of marketers do. It's not a good idea. The more time you invest into getting them to go to the same next step is how you build a funnel. That's how they go to the next section. And from there, there's only one possible next section. And from there, there's only one possible next section. Some of us have to get rid of navigation. Some of us have to get rid of distractions to get our users to go to the very next step, okay? Call to action is probably the most important yet underutilized element on a page or on an email or on a subject line, because we are not thinking right from a business perspective. We're just going through the motions and just putting a call to action because that's what we want them to do. Many times we're losing an opportunity to get another visitor, to go to another page, to fill out a form, to call you, simply because we're not utilizing the power of call to action. All right? Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.